Salutations, nerd. We're watching the MCU in all its glory.
Welcome back to Phased Out, everyone. The show designed to make Nick hate us. I don't think anymore, though, because we're at that point in the MCU. We all know that point in the MCU.
To make Nick hate the MCU. He won't ever hate the MCU, but oh, look at that face.
He kind of looks like he wants to hate the MCU at this point.
I don't hate the MCU. I appreciate it for everything it's done and the story they've weaved.
Up until Endgame.
Some post-Endgame. I still like the overall story, even though there's not much of an overall story. I still like seeing my favorite characters. I just wish they were in better movies.
That's fair.
Especially this one.
This week, we are covering everybody's favorite. Thor, Love, and Thunder.
Boo!
28 movies have led to this. This is the 29th installment of this universe.
Let me tell you what this movie is real quick. If you're not aware, if you haven't seen it, it's Taika Waititi doing Taika Waititi things. I myself, upon consideration of him and rewatching some of his movies, am not a big fan.
Which we stated in the Ragnarok video as well.
I don't like his attitude. I don't really like his humor. It bugs me that he made fun of his visual effects artists.
On this movie. It's this movie that thing went up.
So, what he did with Thor, Love, and Thunder is take what Nick has described to me and what I now know to be probably one of the best Thor.
Hold him up.
I'm not there yet.
Okay.
I will.
Okay.
I will. One of the best Thor stories of the past probably,
15, 20 years.
Yeah, 15, 20 years. And then another one of the best Thor movies, although a different Thor, and smush them together. And they are these ones. They are Thor, the God Butcher saga, which has amazing artwork and is pretty amazingly written. And then the Mighty Thor, who has the Lady Thor in it. Now, this is going to be a very long spiel.
Take us to school, prof.
I haven't even read this fully, but the God Butcher, I just read in preparation after Nick had recommended it. I can see why they can't do it.
It'd have to be at least a two-parter.
Correct. And they'd have to have some way of doing 3 different Thors. But just because you can't do a story doesn't mean you should take the villain out of that story, put it in a different story, and expect the same results. Gore is who Gore is because of this story, not because Gore is Gore. Great casting in Christian Bale, but I just like the whole necrosword thing. Like, it's not really even a thing in Gore. It's just a blade that is a shadow that is venom.
Yeah, venom.
Get him.
And to be honest, it's you also can't do it because it's brutal. I don't know if you remember them cutting the horse in half. It's just brutal. It's just brutal. There's a lot of things that you couldn't do in a movie.
Like seeing all the dead gods and how they're mutilated.
So you do see it in Thor, Love, and Thunder. There's real, like, when the Guardians start talking about it, the pictures on the panel are like representations of what's in there, but they don't have the same effect at all. This movie, in telling that story, it's a shadow of itself, trying to give Gore some kind of motivation other than he's just a madman going around killing gods is not effective. And you've said it before, they waste Christian Bale.
6 scenes. 6. I counted. Technically 5 if you combine the 2 at the end.
And then on the other side of the coin, you have what I think is the much more compelling part of this, the Lady Thor stuff, which is compiled into this, in which, yes, Jane is the Mighty Thor. She for whatever I haven't gotten to that point in the book yet, but something has made Thor unworthy, and Mjolnir is on the surface of the moon, and he can't pick it up. For some reason, Mjolnir accepts Jane. And then there's this whole thing where, Malekith is starting a war of the realms. They revive the king of the ice giants. All this stuff explodes.
Luffy, thank you.
What?
Luffy, right?
Laufey?
Laufey. No, Luffy's the One Punch guy.
One Piece.
That's what I said. Go on.
You're talking about
He's the
Monkey D.
One Punch
Luffy.
Man. Saitama Luffy.
And then they have Loki and all the different Loki versions that are in his head. And she fights Odin, and she fights, it really would have been, if they would have just stuck to this, it really would have been it would have felt like a culmination of all the Thor stories that they had been telling over the course of this 4 movies. And it's a real miss, I think, for the MCU that they didn't tell that story. Because the Lady Thor is just it's the most interesting part of that movie, and Gore's just put in there to be a villain and nothing else. And he's not even needed. There's natural conflict in the fact that she has cancer and that he can't pick up his just.
Yeah, they could have. She could have been fighting anybody. It didn't need to be Gore. It could have just been him being jealous that there's a new Thor out there, and it could have been a mystery, like in the comics, of who it is. We didn't need to be let known it was Jane right away if it was a different story being told. Gore did not need to be involved in this at all.
No.
And it's such a waste of his character.
Yeah.
It made him an idiot.
Mm-hmm.
Gore?
I think Christian Bale's acting was phenomenal because it's Christian Bale. Him telling the little stories to the kids and ripping the head off the little snake creature, great. Very creepy.
We barely
the whole
see him.
kids,
But it's the only real scene.
The whole kids angle of this is so weird and stupid. They can communicate with them so they know where they are, but also they don't know where they are, so they have some urgency to. And then everything culminates in us seeing Chris Hemsworth's butt, which, if you watched Rush, you've seen before.
That's a good point. That's where he and Zemo are racing each other.
Yeah. I did not care for that movie that much, but I
like it.
I'm also not a sports fan. So
I also saw it 10 years ago.
For me, Jane Foster, the Mighty Thor, has some of the best artwork. It's very poppy. I really love it. She freaking fights Odin, and that's beautiful. This movie, and couple that with Taika's particular brand of humor and kind of insulting the audience with that humor. I didn't feel it so much on a second watch, but
that's the one thing I felt more so on the second watch is how terrible the humor is in this movie. The love triangle between Thor and his hammer and axe, terrible. The goats, terrible. Everything to do with Omnipotent City outside of Russell Crowe, pretty rough.
See, in my opinion, when we get to the Dark Planet,
the movie starts getting good for 10 minutes.
It is good.
Before you get there is something funny in Omnipotent City that got me really good, and it's Korg God.
Oh, yeah.
What does he say? Something like that. I laughed so hard.
Old God.
I was looking that I sorry to interrupt, but that got me good.
I want to say Omnipotent City looked gorgeous, obviously. I loved seeing all the different gods and the size differences and the Celestials outside the building when they leave. It's a good set piece. It's just dumb.
Mm-hmm. Another thing that is lame. Jane finding a catchphrase is lame every single time. Yeah. And I won't say Natalie Portman can't be funny. Whatever they're giving her or directing her with is not working. Because it's this is forced, this is dumb, and I don't even remember what she comes up with because I just didn't care.
It was nice seeing Sif again for 2 minutes.
2 scenes.
Yeah.
3 scenes,
sorry. Jamie Alexander.
Yeah, one of my review when the movie first came was Sif happens. Literally. We see her in the little scene, then we find her in the battlefield, because I'm not going to count the little scene as a scene, like the thing on the board. Then they bring her back during the night battle, and then we see her at the end. It's like, because I remember thinking, oh, are they going to actually do something with Sif Manui? Nope. Worse. They're going to show her and then just not use her.
Poor Jamie Alexander.
I know. Like, if you think about it, that is like his only old Asgardian friend left. His family's dead, and his friends are dead. She's like and they had like a thing too. It's like there's so much potential there, and we don't use her at all. Like that's like one of his last like true connections to his people, outside of just them being his people, like personal relationship thing. And it's nothing. No. Like that could have been something too.
Like why not bring Sif along throughout the whole journey? Like, why not have her side by side with Thor fighting Gore along with the other two?
Yeah.
Nope. Just waste her.
Because Gore shouldn't be there to begin with. What?
True.
I mean, just like look at this dang cover. Look at it. It's much better than anything in this movie.
Yep. I haven't read that comic yet, so I don't have much to go off of there. But I know people love it, and it's written by the same guy, right?
Yeah.
What's his name again?
Aaron.
Aaron Davis.
I would think Aaron is his last name, but maybe.
Isn't Aaron Davis the Prowler?
Aaron Davis is the Prowler.
I was like, wait a minute.
Jefferson Davis. Oh, wait.
That's
Jefferson Starship?
Yes.
There are multiple Jefferson Davises.
Yeah, but I'm talking about Miles Morales' dad.
Oh, yeah, the good one?
Yeah.
Not the piece of garbage
the
from 200 years ago?
I spelled author with an E. Gosh, I feel real bad.
Hank Aaron.
Jason Aaron.
Jason Aaron.
Hank Aaron. Here we go. Jumping all around.
No, again, my whole thing is that Taika's brand of humor makes me feel insulted as an audience member, and
he keeps going.
I don't want to say that it ruins Thor, but I mean, it kind of does. It kind of makes him dumb.
Look at his progression through these movies too, like because he starts as the Shakespearean Thor, right? And it didn't work.
And his dumbness comes from Fish Out of Water in that movie.
Yep, which that's fine.
Yeah, he doesn't know Earth, so it
same
makes
thing
sense.
with the second one. It's very similar. And then those Avenger movies, he's still like that. The first one, he starts to change when he sees the orgy, and then goes into the Shaki pool. Man, what a movie that is for him. And then when you get to Ragnarok, it's like, okay, he's more of the looser bro type, so he's not incompetent or stupid.
Nope.
He's just a little, if anything, he's overconfident and a bit lackadaisical about everything. A little more nonchalant than he needs to be, but when the going gets tough, puts his head down and charges forward.
Yeah, there's still reverence and stuff in his actions and what he's doing, and he has emotional beats in that movie.
And then when you get to Infinity War, when half his people are killed, and by then both parents are gone, he watches Loki die for real this time, kind of. It affects him, and he's serious for most of that movie. Outside of a couple
moments. He's making jokes through his pain. Like you can feel the pain every time he makes a joke.
When he says in the spaceship to Rocket, like, "I've lost what else? Oh, what else do I have to lose?" It's like, okay, that's where that's coming from. And then of course, super serious with the Thanos stuff going into Endgame, and at the beginning, people again didn't like Fat Thor, which that makes perfect sense. 5 years, you kill the guy, you got your revenge. What else are you gonna do? Just sit
spiral
home
into your depression.
Yeah, and the jokes are made at his expense, but he's still serious.
Yeah, he's a serious, depressed, sad character.
And now he comes back and he's a moron.
And they even make the Fat Thor part a joke in this movie with his like workout regime
and that was fine.
Putting in the hard yards.
I will say when I first watched this movie, and actually this time too, the opening scene with Gore, it's not as good as it's done in the comics, where you get to follow him as they're trekking through the desert and they don't have any water and he's still holding on hope for his gods.
Well, that's the thing. That's like the first betrayal of this movie. He doesn't the gods just don't answer him in the story. There is no god for him. And that's where his rage comes from, is there's all these other gods and you couldn't answer my prayer. But in this, the god is
just dumb and doesn't care. Yeah.
But it makes sense why you get mad.
Yeah. Yeah,
I
his
like
motivation
the
is still
opening.
there. Yeah, the opening's, that's what I was going to say. It's not as good as the comic, but the opening was very promising.
Oh, yeah, when it started, sitting in the theater with you were there with me. I was like, okay, this is more serious than Ragnarok.
Yeah, like when he denounces his god and then kills him and everything, it's great.
And that shot, it's seen it in movies before, where the head falls on the ground and then there's his thing in the foreground. Well, that's in the background. It's like, that's great. That's good stuff. And how the sword like slides up through the earth into his hand. It's like, okay, it's setting the stage.
Which, to be fair to them, the sword in this obviously does have some sort of life, but it's not like a object, if that makes sense. And like, I think, if I remember
It's
correctly,
a symbiote, right?
yeah.
You
don't know that in this, but
I believe it's the first symbiote that Null, the symbiote guy, creates, which is the Necro Sword. He creates it as a weapon for himself. If I remember, it's been a long time since I've read anything Venom or Null related. Which Null, about to be played by Norman Reedus in Venom 3. Excited. I like Norman Reedus.
Is that Daryl? Mm-hmm. I knew it.
Yep. But yeah, like, I guess in the comic they don't really go into the symbiote of it all.
no.
That's later on. It's talked about. But yeah, it's not a sword. It's just kind of goop.
Yeah, well, it's a
It's just
sword.
Black Shadow.
It's his cloak. At one point,
Yeah.
Gore even picks up the hammer in the comic. Like, the idea of someone else picking up the hammer is insane.
Yeah.
In the comics, and it's a little less insane in the MCU because at this point, a lot of different people have done it. I feel
Only
like
3.
Vision,
4, sorry.
Cap, Thor,
Thor,
And other Thor.
other Thor.
others.
Jane.
Yeah, I feel like we're missing someone.
I don't believe so.
I don't remember, but yeah, you're right because we've seen someone pick it up before.
Well, and it was already kind of set up for the Lady Thor stuff because, like I said, Lady Thor starts out with On the Moon, where Nick Fury has whispered something into Thor's ear.
Is that White Nick Fury?
I don't know. I didn't.
Is it the
I
Nick
didn't
Fury
see it
chain-
happen.
Is it the Nick Fury chain to the moon?
Not that I'm aware of, but maybe.
Okay.
Because that's
They
where they
don't-
left him, right?
Yeah.
To
They don't-
introduce
He
the
took
new-
over for Uatu the Watcher, I believe.
They don't show him in like a panel of him, like it's a thing that's happened before.
Okay.
But then, Thor can't pick up the hammer. Well, they kind of had that with the broken Mjolnir. It could have been something like Mjolnir now considers him unworthy because he let it get broken. And that would have been fine. Anything, like, one thing I've noticed with this phase, I don't even know if it's the same phase, these movies try to do too much. There's no reason for this to be 2 stories condensed into one. Either one of those stories is enough to carry a movie. And it's just frustrating because there are parts of it that I like. Like, I like Natalie Portman's bit in this. Although they do go a little bit more into why the hammer is causing her not...
Deterioration and stuff.
Yeah. Because, if I may spoil it, it's because the hammer nullifies the chemo that she's taking.
Which they say in the movie.
Yeah.
They know it does?
Yeah,
Okay.
Thor goes and talks to a doctor after their first fight with Gore with the 3 of them.
After the Shadow Realm,
Yeah,
the
after the
doctor
Shadow
says
Realm.
like something is stopping
The
the
progress
chemo from
of the
working.
chemo, yeah.
Okay.
But yeah, Tessa Thompson I thought was pretty good for what she was given in the movie.
Not
I
given
think
much to do.
I think her interactions with Natalie Portman were really good. But outside of that, she's just kind of there. Which is sad because I love Tessa Thompson. I think she's a phenomenal actress when she's given the chance to act.
I think she's really good as Valkyrie, too. Like,
And I love the character Valkyrie.
Yeah.
Like, great character. Nothing to do. It's like a lot of people in this movie. I do think the Mjolnir splitting apart when fighting into all the little chunks and
it's
coming
great.
back is so good and a great idea to use the broken hammer in a creative, fun way.
Did we use it too early
Yep.
in the movie?
We should
Would've
have
been
waited
better.
till later on in that Shadow Realm fighting Gore.
Oh, because her like breaking the sword by doing that. That's really cool.
Mm-hmm.
It's too bad it's Like the fourth time she's done that with the hammer.
Yeah, it'd be different if the first time she did it, she's like launches it and it's hitting Gore from all different directions to distract him while somebody else is doing something. But no, we have to use it in the very first fight we see with her.
All right. So, Jared, in the past week,
Yeah.
you've watched a terrible movie. I won't say terrible. There's got redeeming values to it. Have you watched Dutch?
No.
You own Dutch, though.
Mm-hmm.
Are you going to let me borrow Dutch so that I can watch it before you?
I mean, if you want to, but last time I lent you a movie, I still haven't got it back.
That's true. I still
2
haven't-
movies.
Oh, do I still have your Tor? Or did I
Yeah.
give that back to you?
No, you still have it.
Are you sure?
Yes.
Okay.
I believe.
This is why I don't borrow things from Jared.
At least that's not in a box set.
Yeah.
The other one is in a box set, and I can't find it.
That's why I don't let Jake borrow things.
So I'm going to have to buy him that whole box set again.
Lucky. You get a whole brand new box set.
Is that the one that your brother broke, too?
No.
Oh, sad.
I should make you buy the bigger version of it, too.
That's fine.
It's like $400.
You know, as soon as I buy it for you, I'm going to find that stupid DVD.
Man, then I can have 2 box sets. 1 to go. Back on Thor. Just looking, since you both have the comic context, it's like, okay, I have to go into this not looking at that angle because I can't look at that angle. I was thinking about the structure of this movie, and it's the problems that not only we've seen in a lot of modern movies and some Marvel movies, it's a problem you have when you write a first draft of a script, when you have long scenes and not that many of them, when you need to break them down. Because when you boil down the moments in the movie, not that much actually happens. Like, there's the Gore opening, there's the Thor with the Guardians chunk, then Shadow fight, and then we're going on an adventure. Omnipotent City, Shadow Realm, End Fight Eternity, and then the end.
It moves very quickly for a movie that feels so long and slow.
Yeah, just long scenes, and that's why the pacing feels slow.
Like there's way too much in New Asgard. Like we don't need we don't need the scenes with Damon and Luke Hemsworth while they're trying to figure out what's going on with Gore. They're making little jokes here and there. Like we didn't need any of that.
The play was fine in Ragnarok because it wasn't very long, and then this one just keeps going. And the jokes overstayed its welcome. And we have Melissa McCarthy comes out as Hela. It's like it should have been a quick clip of that scene, not the whole thing.
Or to have that going on in the background while our actors are doing other things, and then maybe just show the very last part where she's breaking the hammer, but have it going on where we're not watching the entire play.
It also was a thing in Ragnarok where you didn't know that Loki was Odin.
Yeah, you did. Because at the end of Dark World,
Yeah, we did, but
no one else there does
nobody
except
else
Thor.
there did. So it was a fun little thing of like Thor testing him, and
It was more of a necessary moment than this was.
This was just like, hey, you guys liked this last time.
I did chuckle at the Melissa McCarthy thing.
It's a funny little moment, but then the scene keeps going. It's like this should have been a
Well,
quick.
and then they go back to the joke when they're in like the shelter thing.
Yeah, when they're in the town hall.
Yeah.
And they're like, what shall we do? You know, it's like, too much Damon.
You don't like Dr. Man?
Dr. Man. Now that I think about it, the way he says, what shall we do, it reminds me of a Frasier clip where Niall says, it's times like these where families come together and really hold each other up. What shall we do? That's all it makes me think of. But looking at, again, like I think one of the, I've talked with both of you, one of the letterbox ones was, well, great first draft. Can't wait to see the final product.
I wonder, did they not make like a go through draft?
Oh, I guarantee he did. It's just, it doesn't feel like, it feels like everything was a yes.
From what I remember hearing, at least when this movie was like in production and coming out, they shot like 7 hours worth of movie, and he just kind of cut from there. Like there was so much more. There was other people in the movie and all kinds of stuff, and he just made cuts, and this is the outcome. Yeah, which is probably why it feels so disjointed and all over the place. I wonder what my original review for this movie was.
I think originally I gave it like a 1.5 stars.
It is the second movie I reviewed on Letterboxd ever.
You were. I've never seen you that mad after a movie in general. I've never seen you look like that. You were legitimately pissed off. You had told me for months before that that's like one of your favorite comics. Anything.
So I gave it 2 stars. Let me go through my review real quick.
All right.
Gore the God Butcher's first appearance is one of my favorite storylines in the last 20 years of comics. This movie was like watching a highlight reel of that comic, written by someone who's only read the Cliff Notes, directed by someone that's never seen another movie besides Ragnarok, and every other scene was edited by a different person. I'm ready for the incursion to happen at this point. This movie made me hate the MCU. I was ready for them to hit reset on this whole universe because of this movie.
Do you think that you still feel that harshly about it watching it a second time?
No, because I've seen some of the movies that follow and rewatched some of the ones that came before, because I don't think I saw the Eternals right away. I think I may have seen that after Ragnarok or Love and Thunder. So I didn't have as much fuel for my hate at that point. But yeah, after watching this movie, I didn't want to watch the next movie. I was like, I think I'm done with the MCU now.
That was surreal to see you just not happy.
I'm not the hugest Ragnarok fan either. I think it leans a little too much into the comedy, and especially Taika's comedy. And this one just tripled down on all of the bad stuff about Ragnarok, with none of the good.
Mm-hmm.
Except for Russell Crowe. We stand Russell Crowe and his weird accent.
His Greek accent?
Yes.
Or his attempt at a Greek accent?
I love Russell Crowe. Greatest actor of all time, Russell Crowe.
Dad bod Zeus.
Yes. With his little harem up there.
We get Hercules at the end, too.
I'm thinking of his name, too.
Goldberg, right? Is his last name?
Brett Goldstein.
Brett Goldstein.
Or Goldstein.
My favorite character from Ted Lasso.
Ted Lasso, yep. Roy
Everybody's
Kent.
just in the MCU now, aren't they?
When I saw him, I go, because I was watching around that time. I was using your Apple TV.
That's right.
And I was like, is that Roy? And then he goes, yes, Father.
I was so mad with this movie when I watched it. I left and didn't want to watch the
That's
credit
right,
scene.
you left before
and
that.
And then Jared's like, you'll never believe who was in the end credits.
You'll never believe who I saw.
I love the Hercules, like, comic book character, and like his outfit's really cool, and his dumb little mallet that he has. And it's an actor I love, and I hated that I missed it. Watching it this time, I'm like, I'm kind of glad I missed it the first time.
It looks bad.
Because it looks terrible. He looks like he's on the worst green screen of all time. Rough.
No, that's Quantumania.
We're not there yet.
What do you mean, Jake? They went to the quantum realm in real life.
Yeah,
There are people who love the goats in this movie, and I
don't get that.
I don't anybody thinks
get
that's funny.
that. It is so annoying.
I know so many people are like, the goats are the best part of the movie. It's like, no, they are not. From the second they're on screen, I want them dead.
The goats are in here. So like the goats are a comic accurate thing. They don't scream like that in here.
It's called the meme.
Yep.
But it happens over and over and over again.
I will say it's funny when they run into the dark planet.
If that was the only time they did, I would laugh.
Yep.
But the rest of it's like, oh my gosh.
I think you're right. I think that's the overarching like problem with this movie is just that Taika doesn't know when to stop. With the joke with the love triangle between Mjolnir and Stormbreaker, like that's too much. And then he pours beer on him, and like I don't think that's funny. No. Me personally.
I don't think I laughed at almost any jokes in this movie. There's a couple that I got a little giggle out of, but like most of them just fell very flat for me.
I like his chemistry with the Guardians. That's fun.
I like that the Guardians are very sick of him. It's like that should have been our warning for this movie. Is that if the characters in the movie are sick of this guy, we're going to be sick of him by the end of this movie.
I also like the joke where Chris Pratt is saying, "Just keep your eyes on the ones you love," and like he's leaning over, and that makes me laugh.
I wish there was more of it.
Yeah.
I wish we just got the Asgardians of the Galaxy movie,
or just more of Jane's struggle with cancer. That's interesting enough to carry a movie. Like there's plenty of movies that are carried like that, let alone I get powers from this hammer. Like, how is that not? Just...
I did like the, what is it? The shrine palace thing at the beginning shattering. And then when they offer him the goats, and I think he's like trying to apologize, like just go. Just go. Like, okay, that's good. They're fed up with him too.
I also like the little biker furry guys that he fights. They're kind of cool looking.
Or the callback to the, what is it, Seagal?
The split.
That wasn't the year that happened though. That happened like a decade or.
Yeah, but I know in either like 2000, I think it was like 2018, he redid it for like an ad with like 2 trucks pulling apart for something. So it was somewhat fresh in people's minds.
That fight's not bad.
No,
I actually enjoyed it.
actually, the gore fight on the Dark Planet is really good too.
Shadow
Again,
Realm,
really good.
Shadow Realm is the best part of
The
it.
movie is a different movie at the Shadow Realm.
100%.
Looks
It's a
great.
better movie.
Also, there are way too many Guns N' Roses songs. Like I
was waiting for it.
A semi-fan of Guns N' Roses, like Sweet Child of Mine, great song.
It's a classic.
Welcome to the Jungle, great song.
Paradise City, great
Also
song.
great song.
Used terribly in this movie.
Oh yeah.
Welcome to the Jungle's fine. I've seen it used better in other movies. Sweet Child of Mine
has good placement.
Yeah. November Rain, bad choice. Bad choice for a fight scene.
Great song. Terrible choice for this movie.
Did they choose a band like that to be like the main musical thrust of? It was Led Zeppelin, but
It was
only
one
Immigrant
song,
Yeah,
and it was
just
2
Immigrant Song,
parts.
yeah.
It was beginning and end. It bookended it, just that song.
And then
and
a
just
score throughout the rest of it.
Yeah, like, not overused. Here, the problem you're saying with Taika, too much. Too much Guns N' Roses.
I would have taken 3 instances of Sweet Child of Mine over what we got.
Yeah, I mean, even what's his name, Heimdall's kid wants to be called Axel
That's dumb.
because there's a band he likes. That's like it's like
Yeah.
we don't need him to reference Guns N' Roses
I mean,
in
you,
the movie.
you could really use just the intro solo to Sweet Child of Mine, and it could just carry any moment, really.
Yep. Back on the Shadow Realm, because I want to think about something good for a second. It looks great, but even before the fight, like when he's got them all trapped and like Jane throws Stormbreaker because that's what he's wanted. Like the whole point of he's luring him in to get Stormbreaker to get the Bifrost key. Like that's actually good. I wish there's more story.
It's really
around
interesting. It actually is really interesting when he's dragging away Stormbreaker and doesn't like lift it. He just drags it.
Question about that scene, because I looked away when Gore was like looking at the prophecy, basically, that tells you the Bifrost opens the gates of, is it Eternity?
Eternity.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Was it a picture of Stormbreaker or was it the Bifrost?
I don't remember.
I think it was the Bifrost.
Oh, okay, that makes more sense because Stormbreaker is a fairly new weapon for Thor.
Yeah.
So if that was like ancient foretold with Groot's hand in this thing,
Yep.
like that's kind of weird. But if it's just the Bifrost, it makes more sense because the Bifrost has pretty much always been around since Asgard's been around.
Yeah. And before the fight, he's got them captured, and he goes one by one to them. And I remember thinking, like, man, if he has more stuff to do in this movie, where is it? Because he goes to Valkyrie, he's like, how did you feel when all of your sisters died or whatever, all your loved ones died, whatever he says. Like, he gets to her. Then he goes to Jane, he's like, oh, you're dying. I know what that feels. Something like that. We share a same. I was like, yeah.
Or there's like some sympathy there.
There's this like sinister feeling about it. He's intimidating, but like he's understandable. It's like this is a good villain. There, you say a great villain. So it's like here, it's being portrayed fairly well in the little bit we get him, because that's the most intimidating part of the whole movie. Because he's got them all wrapped up, and then the fight is great, and Thor is kind of kicking his butt because
also based on this movie's Gore's attachment to his daughter, I don't think he would have taken the kids like that. I don't think he would have threatened them like that. That doesn't make sense. It's not typically how.
No, Gore's very motivated and sticks to his motivations in the book. Like he doesn't deviate and do things out of character, which stealing kids is very out of character for someone whose whole motivation is like, my kid is gone and somebody has to pay for that.
And when he stabs Valkyrie, you feel that in the theater. I felt that. I'm like, no.
With the lightning bolt, right?
Yep. He goes, and nothing. She just lost her liver or part of her
Yeah.
liver. That's it. She's fine. It just takes her out of the final battle. And I remember thinking, yeah, they really didn't. I'm glad she didn't die, because also that'd be just fridging her for no reason.
Especially because, like, Tessa Thompson is so fun. Like, she's fun in these movies.
I think she could carry her own movie, to be honest.
100%. I'd love to see her get a show where it's just her running Asgard.
Yeah. Just thinking about that whole section of the movie. It's like, yeah, everything before and after just doesn't. It's like the high of that is higher than anything in Ragnarok, but the rest of the movie is most of it's way worse.
I will say, like,
I also like the blue suit.
Yeah,
I'm a big fan of blue suit.
I didn't like the helmet for it.
With the wings?
Yeah, it was a little too big. I think the wings went out too much. I wish I would have went back more and up. But that's just a very small, nitpicky part of that. As much as I hated the kids getting Thor's powers,
Yeah.
this time I got it a little more. Because I'm like, why couldn't he have done that in any other movie? But he kind of, it seems like he's using Zeus's bolt as a divining rod of using it, like combining the powers to give it to him. So maybe he couldn't before. But I like the part where he's like, "You're all Asgardians, blah blah blah." And he's like, "Oh, I'm this race. Oh, I'm this." He's like, "Well, you know what I mean. You're all Asgardians at heart." I thought that was kind of fun and funny, but then he gives them all powers and it's dumb.
And then the one kid shoots lightning out of his doll.
Yeah. Boo this movie.
Yeah.
Ooh, this movie.
So, Eternity is really, really interesting.
And pretty looking.
Do you know what would have made it more interesting?
A story.
If it didn't end up being Gore's daughter. If it ended up being... Again, if Gore doesn't have a daughter and he's just doing it because his planet died because his god didn't show up. And then they get there because all of a sudden he just turns around and is like, I messed up. And it's like, okay. But if we've been building this story between Thor and Jane for an entire movie, and they don't even have like a thing in Eternity. So
Jane just dies.
what if, it would have made more sense to me, because I like the ending with the little girl Thor person love. What if it was somehow they wished for a kid out of Eternity and it was their kid? It might be a little nitpicky, but I just don't see the point of Gore having a kid.
In this movie, for sure. Like, I get it in the comic. Like, it makes sense because it's fleshed out.
Well, he doesn't have a kid in the comic.
Doesn't his son die in the...
He's an illusion. That's the whole point of it.
Yeah.
It was all an illusion.
But, I mean, he's still there for Gore. Still a driving motivation for him.
I suppose.
Also, like, the Eternity story-wise, it's like, I can see what is supposed to happen here. And it's not. Like, Gore just kind of falls over. And his daughter's just there.
Yep.
Doesn't really explain how she is alive again.
Does she remember who he is?
Yeah. And then Jane dying was, like, that's actually a good little moment between them because we're not shoving humor into every little nook and cranny. And so, if I remember sitting there, like, if there's some kind of trade-off where, like, Jane's dying and the girl lives, or something, it's like, I feel like there's supposed to be some kind of trade-off or some kind of something.
Yeah,
something that makes him change, but nothing does. The sword, it's supposed to be the sword breaks and he comes to his senses, but what if it's the sword breaks, but it's that classic, oh no, he's still corrupted. It was somehow. You think it's the sword, it's not. He's still, but then something changes him when he's in there.
You mean the thing they should have done with Black Widow, where Taskmaster isn't controlled by the dumb mist? Yeah.
Where Taskmaster isn't controlled, she's just a bad person.
Yeah, she just hates Natasha because she blew her up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't like
They should have just swapped them.
I like the ending with the little girl Thor.
I actually really hate that ending.
Really? Why is that?
I don't know. It just felt so dumb in the theaters, and this time it's like, okay, it's just a setup for the next movie, so he has someone to pal around with. They're just gonna do Shane.
The when she shoots her laser at him and he goes, "That's great, brand ruined." I laughed there.
Yeah, that's fun. I just don't like the idea of him having Gore's kid and raising her, and
Again, that's why it should have been him and Jane's kid.
Yeah.
There would have been more motivation for him to stick with that kid.
And you know that kid's going to get 3 recasts before the next movie.
Yep.
Just like Cassie Lang.
But remember, Jane is not dead.
Neither is Heimdall. Let's go. Heimdall's back. More Idris Elba in these movies.
Everyone in Valhalla is going to come back to help Thor, except...
Do we get the Warriors 3 back? Zach Braff?
Oh, God, no.
Zach Braff.
Sorry.
Zach
Levi? Matthew Dallas or whatever his name is. The original Fendrel.
Having a scene of Valhalla is one thing. Having that be the...
After you watch her die...
After in the same movie.
Like, it's one thing if you have the scene in Valhalla and they kind of imply that it's Jane.
Or it's after a different movie, not the movie you just watched where literally 10 minutes ago is when she died.
Mm-hmm.
It's like she's back already.
I don't know what movie they would have put that in elsewise.
I don't know.
Because I don't know if they're going to do another Thor movie.
You have Thor pretty much die in the next movie. They are doing another Thor movie. It's going to be a serious one, and they got a different director.
Because he wants...
Chris Hemsworth demanded it.
And he wants...
A different director?
He wants
different tone.
King Thor, right?
Yeah, he wants old King Thor. Which I am excited for, because that should have been in this movie, fighting alongside young Thor against Gore.
I mean, they kind of tried to do it with the whole, Korg telling Thor's life story.
Yeah.
But it's bad.
Too much Korg. Way too much Korg in this.
That's because somebody loves himself too much.
Yeah. I really don't like him.
Oh, and he got that lightning bolt through him in the theater. I think it went. Yeah. And then he kept talking. I go.
I actually really love the character of Korg, and this movie makes me kind of hate him. I like Meek more now. Yeah, this movie's trash. It's not like last week's movie where it's a good movie with bad stuff, just making it rough. It's just a bad movie with a couple good scenes.
It was doomed from the start. Yeah. The approach. Do you think not doesn't depend on what's been reported or what he said? Do you think Taika actually read those?
No.
Read what?
Both those.
Nope.
Well, maybe a little.
Notes.
Like first couple pages, knows the summary, and you go, let's do that.
If anything, it was read to him.
Yeah.
Because I don't think he saw the pictures or anything like that. Like, there's so much that's not in this movie. It's literally just the covers. It's like, okay, he saw that Gore has a sword that's black. He sees that Jane is Thor. And then write a movie around that with no other connective tissue.
Yeah.
It's bad.
And those poor special effects artists get thrown under the bus by what is essentially their boss in his own movie, making fun of their hard work that, some of it looks really bad. It's not their fault.
And it was also post-pandemic when everybody was under crunch, and getting your movie into an effects house was near impossible. Like, everybody was on a waiting list that was months and months long. And he has the audacity to say anything about the work they put in. Yeah, and this movie looks pretty great. Like, there's very few parts that look rough. And a lot of it's just because there's so much going on, and it's a little bit messy.
They have 3 movies and multiple TV shows to do all these effects for, and stuff keeps getting changed. And if you're saying there's 7 hours of movie he cut down, what if he kept changing that? And then it's like, because special effects artists have said, like, they are having to redo stuff. Like, you'd come in
a couple of
and
seconds
change
you cut out, they have to completely change how everything interacts with it.
Yep. Yeah, like their shot list has to match your shot list, and if you change yours, they have to change theirs. And you changing yours is a lot easier than them because you're shooting on green screen and they're building everything around you.
Yeah, and when I brought this up multiple times here and on Thursdays when we talk, back in the day looks better because not only were they more honed in and not only were there more real things, it was all planned. Why do you think Davy Jones in the 2 Pirates movies looks great? Everything was planned, and they didn't change much. Nowadays, it's, they're filming, it's, we'll do this loosely so then we can just kind of change it how we want it. And then they scrap things so quickly because they have to make everyone happy. But the problem is they make no one happy. No one ends up liking these, really. because
it kind of goes to
they're
last
bad.
week's point of Everything Everywhere All at Once, where it's such a visually
Those are
chaotic movies
Those are self-taught YouTube people.
with a
That
crew
are
of
our
what?
age.
They had a crew of what? 12?
14 or something.
14, 12 or 14 doing the effects across the country because it was the heat of the pandemic. But because every shot was so meticulously planned, it's near flawless in its visual effects.
And a lot of it is tangible sets.
Yes. Things
And
that they're doing
costumes.
in camera, not after the fact.
Yeah, that's
That's why that movie works so much better visually than any of these Marvel movies.
Wasn't I read something? You know that shot where she kind of breaks the glass and breaks the reality and there's like.
It was where she's like flying through a whole bunch of them and they're like flying by her.
No. It's like glass.
the split screen
It's
fight.
kind of like a split screen, but like it's like broken glass, and each one of the pieces of glass is like a different reality.
Mm-hmm.
That's like all done like in camera.
So that's some special lens as well.
I don't know. You know,
That makes sense. That
because
feels like something
I think
Daniels
the point
would do.
was that the universes, a lot of them are nearly identical, but they're just ever so slightly different, and they did something physically that portrayed that.
Yeah.
Jared, did I ask you this week if you watched Touch?
Yeah. As
I'm going to ask it again. Did you watch Touch?
no.
Since I asked you 10 minutes ago?
Yeah,
Or
I know.
a half hour
Yeah.
ago. Whatever it is. Are we done talking about Thor?
I'm done talking about Thor for the rest of my life. At least
Until you watch it again.
At least I don't plan on watching this movie ever again. I watched Thor 5. How does Thor have the most movies in all of the MCU
Because
when none of them are great? They're all just kinda,
hold on. I think Ragnarok hit at the right time.
Yeah.
So it was wildly popular. So they wanted to fund another one that apparently tried to be exactly like it, except insulting.
Yeah, it's exactly like it, except it took two of the most serious Thor comics of all time and tried to make them comedies.
Yeah.
Like, how do you take a God Butcher and a Lady Jane has cancer story and
Now, don't get me wrong.
make
There's
it comedy every 10 seconds?
There's comic moments.
Yes, but it's not a comedy with some sad beats. It's a sad story with comedic beats. I'm just so tired at this point.
We're all getting pretty phased out.
Yeah.
Anyway, you have anything else to say, Jack?
Trying to think if I had. I feel like I had more and then just forgot most of it because I wanted to forget this. Everyone laughed in the theater at when Korg talks about mating with another rock dude named Dwayne, and everyone laughed. I go, why is everyone laughing? I go, Dwayne the Rock. I go, that's stupid.
Oh, you watched this in the same theater as Dickie, didn't you?
No, he wasn't there.
Oh.
Nope, that was after his time.
Yeah.
Probably a good thing you didn't have to suffer through it.
Yeah, no,
He may have made
I
it
watched
better.
Ragnarok with Dickie and another loud guy, as I probably mentioned weeks and weeks ago. Just, I couldn't hear. It was like leaving a concert if you didn't bring
The other guy start with a K?
No,
Oh.
they had the same first name,
Gotcha.
and they
kinda
laughed
loud.
very loud, and one's high pitched and one's just like hearty, and it's oh my goodness, I felt like I was levitating. You know, where you're just so overstimulated. I felt like what's her name in The Exorcist?
Linda Blair?
Yeah,
Reagan?
Reagan. Thank you. Where you just start levitating. It's like, whoa, this doesn't feel good. She felt worse than I did, but I
Yeah, maybe.
digress.
I've heard
Yeah.
Dickie's laugh. He may have felt about the same. I love you, Dickie.
Did he I'm sorry, I wasn't listening. Did he synchronize with someone?
What?
Is that
What?
Did his laugh synchronize with someone else's laugh?
What I've been talking about?
I wasn't
Like the-
listening. Like I said, I
Gotcha.
wasn't listening.
Oh, gotcha. Yeah, it was two loud laughs, and I'm sitting between them and hearing high-pitched squeal in one ear and hearty, like, ha, 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 in the other one at the same time was overstimulating. It was a trip. But at least it's a fun movie. This is not fun.
Well, despite all my rage, I'm still just a kid in a cage.
Bone cage.
Bone cage.
I was trying to think of another line from that song, but all I know is the world is a vampire.
The world is a god butcher.
Set to Jane.
Oh, Billy.
The God Destroyer. Sorry, I'll stop. I'm trying to think of anything.
Running through my veins. Seek it, destroyer. Oh, this movie.
Yeah. Are we ready to be done talking about Thor?
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like we've talked about all the good parts.
So I gotta ask, did you try to cheer yourself up with some Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. after this?
Well, Jake, you have no idea. I was this close to watching the episodes with Sif in it. This close, because Sif is in a couple episodes of it. But then I remembered how bad the show was at that point. Because I was right before like the Ghost Rider stuff when I was having a really bad lull. So I didn't go back. So no, I did not watch any Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. this week. Not even to see more Sif. You're Sif out of luck.
It's a shame. I really. Whenever I see JB Alexander today, hey, it's that girl without a belly button.
It's Kyle XY, but girl.
It's Kyle XX.
Kyle XY.
I love that show. It's so dumb.
So bad.
Thank you, ABC Family, for producing the weirdest stuff in the early 2000s.
And then there was Greek.
I love Greek. I still love Greek.
Oh, man.
Kelsey Grammer's daughter's in that.
Spencer?
Yep. And the guy who plays Olaf in Once Upon a Time's in there.
All right.
And Clark Duke.
What is his name in The Office?
What
What do they call him? Dwight Jr.?
Yeah.
The other one's Plop.
Oh, I love Clark Duke. Where is he now?
He's a character in the Croods franchise.
Is he?
He's the son.
I haven't seen the second Croods.
It's good.
That's what I've heard. Weirdly enough, with such
I like
a
it.
big gap between the
It's
two.
funny. Like, it's actually really
I'm
funny.
surprised they got the whole cast back.
Yeah, especially at that time.
Yeah, like they all had kind of bigger come-ups at that point.
Might be Cloris Leachman's last movie.
What a way to go out.
I know.
It's a good character.
It is.
It's a really good character. I love Cloris Leachman so much.
Yeah,
You all
me
right?
too. Rest in peace.
Yeah.
And so with that, if you want
Raising hope with her.
to keep following us along on this, oh gosh, are we still on a journey, or is there some kind of worse word that we can use?
Our expedition. Our
Through this muck.
trip.
That's called
Excursion.
through this muck that's called the MCU. I don't think it gets better from here,
The
guys.
Muck Cinematic
We have
Universe.
2 more high points. Well, we have a high point and then a, hey, this happened.
Wait.
Guardians and Deadpool.
Oh,
I still think Guardians 3 is a really solid movie.
Yeah.
it might be. I've not seen it again. I have a hard time sitting down for a full 3 hours like that.
Not me. That one's a good pace, in my opinion. The next one, though.
Jared, where can they find us?
You can follow us on Facebook, Instagram, the funny TikTok, and X.
Formerly known as Twitter.
You can listen to an Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, Spotify, and hey, if it's YouTube, like, subscribe, comment, ring our bell. Make sure you check us out and rate us on all those apps, and check out our groovy website.
Make sure on YouTube to ring the bell and get notified when we upload new videos, and especially if you want to continue down this journey with us as we get. I know I say it 2 times because he never says it right.
What do you mean I never say it right? I say it perfect.
You say
Ring our bell
yes. You
Yeah.
have to tell them why.
so they can see the bell rung.
Yeah.
Okay.
Ding, 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 ding.
Anyway,
You little cat.
if you want to continue on this journey as we get more and
Probably
more
don't.
phased out, we'll see you next time. Oh, sorry. Next time we are talking about the
sequel to Black Panther.
the sequel to the movie that kind of changed superhero movie culture. I would not say that this one is as impactful.
Nope. Sure ain't.
Maybe sleep-inducing is the word I would use. We're talking about Wakanda Forever next week.
Yeah, that's next week.
Join us then. Bye.
Bye.
Thunder.
Look at that adorable couple.
Yeah, but you and your wife look normal. He takes a kiss. His favorite book is Go Set a Watchman. Well, I hit the big one. We've been building to this. We have.
And yet, he probably is going to like it more than he did the first time.
Yeah.
Oh, boy.
This booty movie. It makes me sad talking about it.
Thunder! See, why didn't they use Thunderstruck in this movie?
Or even that one, Lightning and the Thunder. Like, he had both of them.